Okay, hello students. So today, I'll be playing some chess games on my other account. So for this account, it is actually currently at 282 rating. So what I'll be doing is I'll be playing a few games, and as I play, I will explain the why I'm moving what I'm moving, as well as my thought process behind the moves. And these are actually this is actually going to be a I'll play about 3 to 4 games, and I'll be using the opening tactics as well as the openings that I've taught you throughout these games. Okay. So and I'll be playing the 10-minute rapid time control. And yeah, okay, so let's hop into the first game. All right, so the first game, and now we are white. So I'll start with the very for most of the games I think we'll be playing the Italian for white, and probably playing the Caro-Kann for black. So for white, normally we attack the center, right? We e4, and then the next point of the opening is to develop your pieces. So knight f3, a very common move there. So attacks the pawn and develops the knight. For my next move, I am going to be preparing to move out my bishop, and then I will follow by castling. It's very simple. So he just defends his pawn. And this is actually not a very good move by him already, right? Because this actually blocks the development of the bishop from coming up like this. So sometimes when you play, what I recommend in this position, if you are black, is actually bringing your knight out first, then bringing your bishop, and then playing d6. And so that your bishop doesn't really get blocked along the way. Okay. So okay, then I'll bring out my own bishop. So now he has probably only one option left, or like one way to develop his black square bishop is which is through fianchettoing, which is actually in this case not very ideal because actually he's going to be wasting quite a bit of time in doing that. So he actually brings the knight out, which defends his pawn a second time. But once again, is would you say this is a good move? It is not, right? Because it's actually um you're blocking the bishop once again for your development. And then see, he has actually moved his the same piece twice in the opening, which is actually I think I've told many of my students that this is actually not something that I recommend because number one, you're wasting time in development, and number two, is bringing this knight out here can be is very easily defended by things such as knight c3 and as well as d3. So in this case, I have two options, and I'll actually choose to move my knight out so that I can develop my pieces. Okay. As you can see, it has been 5 moves into the game. I have developed 3 of my pieces, and I've gotten my king to safety, while while my opponent has only brought out 2 pieces, and they are not that active. And I'm already prepared. And once you see this, and um, in chess, when you are ahead in development, what you want to try to do is to make use of your advantage in development and try to go for the attack. If you're at the higher level, that's normally what we do. But for the sake of today's video, I'll play a bit more conservative. I will continue developing my pieces. And also, he has actually attacked my pawn a second time, so it needs to be defended again. So I'll play d3 and preparing my bishop, the way for my bishop to come out also. Okay. And if you find it hard to understand at any point, feel free to pause the video and go back maybe 10 seconds, and will continue. You can get some explanation from there. Okay. Okay, what he has actually done here, he has actually moved his bishop to g4 to pin my knight. Right? So now my knight is unable to move as he will take my queen. Okay. So but for now it's not a very big threat to me. So I will develop my own bishop, and I'll also be pinning his queen. All right, so now for once again, you can see that his development of his pieces has been kind of hindered because this d6 move. Black bishop cannot move up. And then after playing h6, this is also not a very pleasant move for him because once I take this, like if he wants to bring his bishop out again, he's going to be exposing two of his pawns here, and then this will become a weakness for me to attack in the future. Okay. And then now that he's moved here, and I'll just I'll simplify the position a bit. I'll trade off the pieces. So actually, what he did is also kind of a mistake. He's actually taken with the G pawn. When he takes with the G pawn, he's actually doubling up his pieces, and when you double out the pieces, it's actually a becomes a weakness that I've identified and that I can attack. Maybe later I can bring in my knight to d5 to attack this pawn, which is only defended by the queen. Okay, but firstly, now it's my turn to kick away his bishop as so that I can soon bring out my queen into the game. And if I can get my queen to f3, this will be actually quite deadly for me for my opponent as I'll be staring down this weak double pawn, and then once my knight comes, we are both I'll be having a double attack on this pawn. It's gonna be quite hard for him to defend without messing up his pieces. Okay. So actually he takes with the bishop and he allows free development of my queen. Like I said, now I'm attacking this um f this weak f6 pawn. Right now what I assume my opponent is gonna play is most probably okay, most probably either bishop to e7 or bishop to g7 once I bring my knight in to subtly defend this weak double pawn, right? But instead he actually moves his knight back to e6. I well, I'm quite sure that his plan is to move it back so that he can rotate the knight out after that to attack my queen. But to me, that's not really a very big threat, right? Because if he attacks my queen, what can I do? After I bring my knight, I can just if he moves his knight here, I can just take with my queen. And this is once he takes, I will be taking with check, and then he has to move his king, which once again is not good because once he moves his king, he'll lose his right to castle, right? And his king will be stuck in the center, which is not very nice. Right. Okay, as I expected, he moved his knight, and then I can just win a free piece of this free pawn. Very, very simple, very clean. And here we're actually also in some ways this is also considered a fork because if his queen doesn't want to take it, I can what I actually can do is I can just take this rook for free. We shall see what he does. Or we can actually also look for discover attack ideas on the f7 square. If for example if I move my knight away, then both my pieces attack. Anyways, his queen takes, so I take check. So now I'm actually up one pawn. Yeah. So right, so now he's moved his king up, and I need to get my knight to safety back again, right? So I'll actually bring it back to the center because it's actually quite a good square for my knight, and it's looking at quite a lot of weak spots in the black position, and if ever I can just bring it back. And there's also a check. And this is also a free pawn if he chooses not to defend it with king to d7 or king to d8. All right, soon I'm going. Okay, so he actually defends the knight from taking this pawn. So now we will move on to our next phase of attack. All right. So notice in my position what are actually some bad points of my white position. Okay, if you said that my rooks are weak, you're actually correct because right now my rooks aren't really doing anything. So how can I activate my rooks to join the game? Okay, a very simple way of doing that is through pawn breaks. What are pawn breaks? Pawn breaks are actually me moving my pawn forward so that once he takes, then when rook takes, I will actually my rook will be occupying this open f file, which is very, very good. Once he can reach the 7 or 8 rank, can actually join into the attack very, very nicely. So I'll actually go with that. And this is also once again, to a certain extent, a minor fault if he chooses not to take with the pawn, right? So for example, if he moves the knight away, taking this is a very simple way to break open the position and go for the f7 pawn, which is actually quite weak, right? As I expected, he decided not to take the pawn, so I'll be taking this pawn, and you see now, this is actually, once he takes this pawn, the f7 pawn will be weak and is up for grabs for me, right? It's gonna be a free pawn. Yep, free pawn. And then now my rook has actually infiltrated the black position, which is quite deadly for him, so checkmate is gonna be coming soon. Okay, what my plan is for my next moves is I'm actually going to do a discovered attack, right? Because my bishop can actually attack this pawn. Okay, so what he's actually done is to move the king to e8. Hmm. All right, so here I'm actually gonna play a bit of a tactic. Um, should I? No, never mind. I will just continue with I'm just gonna be playing for the sake of the video and for the sake of everyone's understanding. I think I'll play a very calm, very solid move. Rook to f1, just doubling up the rooks and then putting a bit of pressure on the bishop on f8, and just a very strong move in general. Okay. Another idea that I was thinking of was actually to move my rook to take this pawn. Why, you may ask? So if I had taken the pawn, once this knight takes, once the knight had take, sorry, once the knight had taken, then my knight can recapture with a fork. So I'll be up one piece. We see our opponent has actually found that out. So how can I make use of my discover attack here? If I was to move my knight to this spot, it actually disconnects these two rooks, which is not something I would like. Right? So what I can do is I can either take this pawn, which is knight takes. Would that be good for me? I can check. Knight moves here, takes. Uh, I don't think I'll go for a very aggressive looking endgame here. So I'll just play a very easy move just to attack this knight, this weak knight. 6. Okay. Once this knight, we'll probably be chasing this knight away, so that once he moves away, I can attack it again. And once I attack it, I will actually move my rook to this spot, which actually forks this 2 pawns. And then that's how we slowly build up our advantage. So as expected, he's moving his knight away. Um, so that's another thing in chess, right? If you first after your opponent's made a move, you need to see what has changed, and then try to see that there are any other better moves that can add to your plan before. But in this case, I think I'll just go with my idea of c3. Very, very, very simple way of attack. So once he moves his knight away, I'll just go in for the fork, which is wins another free pawn easily. Okay, he actually moves the knight to e2 check. Right. So if I move my knight here, my king to h1, this is actually going to be a humongous blunder, as he actually has the fork. He has Nasty, very nasty fork of knight to g3, which hits both my rook and my king on h1. So instead, I'll move my king to h2, which is a safe spot for me. But we're actually going a bit low on time today, but we have 2 minutes left, but no worries. Shouldn't be too much of a hassle for us. Okay, so he after 21 moves, he has actually finally moved his bishop. So this is not a very good move, right? Because I can just go in and just continue with my plan from before, which is actually forking the king. Okay, he actually moves his king out. And then so first and foremost, you look out for checks. So you also notice that my rook is under attack. So here I'll actually move my knight to f6 check, and this actually opens up the diagonal for my bishop to protect my rook. Very, very easy stuff. Just simple flowy moves that come to mind. Okay. So he moves his rook back, his knight back, his king back. So once again, following the just going with the simplest move on the board, just taking free piece. And then this also actually attacks this bishop. Yeah. Okay, soon my next plan will actually be to bring my oh, okay, so actually I made a bit of a mistake here myself, right? So I actually allowed my rook to be pinned by the like by the queen, by the bishop. So now what can I do? So firstly, when it's actually a very human thing to get into mistakes. So first and foremost, do not panic. Actually realize that I can continue my attack. I bring in my next rook. Right. So once his bishop takes, and then I can take back. I still have quite a strong attack on his king, and I'm actually still ahead in material because I've built up my advantage over throughout the course of the game. I'm still ahead by 2 pawns and um one piece, which is actually kind of winning for me. Right. So actually, so once again, when you're in lower levels of when you're at the lower levels of chess, do not panic when you're below in material. Just play solid moves and make sure that I am very sure that your opponent will make an error here or there. Right? So this actually happened right here as I'm talking. He actually hung his rook, right? So is his rook can I take his rook for free? The answer is yes, right? Because he I have two pieces attacking and there's only one defender. And would you look at that? This actually checkmate also because his king cannot move to here or to here, right? So he actually his one blunder actually lost him the game in an instant. So this is not a it's actually a very standard thing that happens. So yeah. Okay. We'll play one more game. Okay, now we have the black pieces. Starts with e4. Alright, so now I'll play the opening that I've taught of you, which is the okay, he actually aborted. Never mind. We'll play one more game. Okay, now we are white again, so never mind. We'll just continue playing the same thing. Thus, very easy, just developing pieces. Focus on development, and you will not go wrong in the early game. Okay, so he actually brings out the bishop to defend. This is actually quite an ugly move, as I think I've told some of my students before. This is actually not a very nice move because it blocks the d pawn and hinders the development of this bishop. But never mind, we'll continue with as long as we're playing our own game. We just make sure that our pieces are in good spots. Right? No, not so much like his. We should be fine. All right. So he actually goes for a bit of a gambit. So he's offering his pawn in exchange for a bit of center control. But in this case, actually, I'm happy to give it to him because he cannot bring his d pawn out. So his his main idea would be actually to play the move e4. And here, my response to that, because in most cases, he does not play e4. So he moves his bishop again for the second time, which is once again a very not a very smart move by him, because once again, how many pieces have I developed? Can my king go to safety? Yes. And he has one. Look at this. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces on their home squares. And I've already developed almost half. And once again, actually I could have taken this pawn and gone for an attack, but for the sake of this video, I'll keep to the fundamentals of the opening, which is getting my king safe first, and then I'll go for the attack, which is completely fine, and there's no problems with this at all. Right? So he has actually gone to take pawn, and so he has actually still left this pawn hanging, so that's free piece for me. He brings his queen out to attack, and so is this actually bringing your queen out too early in the game is also not very optimal. So here I will actually set a trap for him to play. I'll actually bring out my knight. He's actually attacking my knight, but I will act like I did not see it for now. You will see why in a moment. Okay, so I'll continue with my development of my pieces. My knight. Okay, so very nicely, my opponent has fallen into the trap. Okay, so what is the trap that I've set? Now that okay, maybe if you want, you can pause your video for a while to find the easy tactic. Okay, give you a few seconds. Okay, so if you notice, actually the king and the rook and the queen, they are actually along the same line. Right? So how can I what does this mean? Okay, this means that I can he's susceptible to either a pin or a skewer. In this case, it's a pin, right? And how am I gonna exploit this pin? I can actually use my rook to move. And now can his queen move at anywhere else? The answer is no, because once he moves the queen, I've actually okay. Once he moves the queen, I can actually it'll actually be a check. So that's a that's an illegal. Okay, I actually accidentally dropped the piece. So my plan here was actually to attack the bishop, which actually exploits the pin once again. But no matter, it's okay. We had a piece drop happened, so no worries. So now actually he's trying for an attack with the battery that he has just made on the H, going for the H2 square. So once again, don't panic. Just wait for your opponent to make a mistake. So don't worry about this. I will block the attack on G. However, this actually leaves me to a very susceptible tactic of this, but no worries. Okay, now I can exploit the pin once again. So if he moves his bishop away, I can take his queen for free. Right. So far, even though we are down one knight, we're down 2 points of material and one knight. It's okay because we are actually about to win the knight back. So now I can take this bishop for free. And then see, now we are actually ahead again already with as long as we know our tactics and you know how to recover your pieces, do not panic. Okay. So once again, we're in a completely winning position. We can actually capture this pawn 4 different ways, right? Well, firstly is taking with the pawn. This will actually lead to a discovered check. But in this case, the discover check maybe might not be so good because we don't really have any follow-up attackers to help after that, right? Or we can take the bishop and then attack the b7 pawn after. This is not a bad option, but once again, it can be easily defended by moves such as c6. And same goes for the queen. So actually here I'll just go for a simple knight. Okay. And actually, if you guys notice, he actually has a double attack on my f2 square, and he could actually have taken, but it's actually very nicely defended. Okay, very nicely defended by my rook and my king. So if he had taken, once my rook takes, his knight takes, and my king can take, I will have the last laugh, right? Because I have the same number of defenders as attackers on this piece. Okay, so actually here he made a very, very grave error. He actually, I think he miscalculated a bit. So what his plan was here is actually once I take his queen, he can take my queen. Right? Well, will that work, my dear students? No, right? Because once I take his queen, it will actually lead to check. And can you move your knight while I'm in check? The answer is no. So right. So actually he could have taken the pawn, but he didn't. So I'll give him one more check. He still cannot take my queen, right? And I can take this pawn knight with check. The knight for free. So now he has lost both his queen and his knight for the price of absolutely nothing. Okay. So now I think my opponent is a bit angry, so he's just randomly taking things. But I can actually take with the pawn, but in this case, I'm actually going to bring out my queen and deliver a check. This is actually also a fork, right? Very, very easy. And then, yes, our opponent just resigns. Okay. Okay, I'll play one more game and then we will. Okay, maybe I'll try to get a black game so that I can. I'm still not getting a black game. No worries. Okay. Okay, so once again, the same methods of gameplay, just going for the very easy, very standard um Italian or King's Pawn opening into the Italian game. Bring my knight out, my bishop out, going for early castling, king safety, and good development. Right? Yeah, I think my opponent is actually not there, so he is the game might abort and we might start a new game. Hopefully we can get black in the next one if he aborts. Okay, 2 seconds, 1 second. Okay. The game was actually aborted. Am I going to play one more? Just hopefully. Okay, very good. Now we have the black pieces. We can go in with the Caro-Kann. Very nice. So once again, c6, and after all right. So this is all right from the bat. He has already made an error, right? Yes, development is important, but you still need to make sure you develop your pieces into places where they are not easily attacked and um, so actually what I'm going to do is moving my pawn to d5 right here. Very, very simple move. Okay, so what he actually does here is like this is actually a fork, right? And if he takes, I can take with my pawn, my supporting pawn on c5. And then what if he had taken, I can take my queen. So right from the back, he already losing a piece. So never mind, we'll continue once again, taking control of the center. Very, very important, right? And then he's trying to gambit a pawn away. So once I take and his bishop takes, and then his position will be stable again. But obviously, I do not want for this to happen, and I do not want to let him take my pawn either. So I'll actually just continue pushing. And now he actually has a very awkward looking bishop that is blocked by 2 pawns. And then he has pushed his pawn. And then upon pushing his pawn here, I can develop my piece while taking the pawn. And then just like that, we are already 2 pieces up. So 2 pawns up. So you can actually see the importance of piece development here. All right, so he goes for knight queen f3. This is a very basic beginner attack kind of attacking pattern where they are going for the f7 pawn. So very easy, just defense is just playing knight to f6, blocking the queen from going for this pawn. Okay, so he brings out his knight, developing his piece. No worries. And then once again, why did I say that it is bad to move out the queen too early? Right? Is because it can be actually susceptible to attacks. Or like it's very easy for me to attack the queen and then losing tempo for himself for white. So there's a very easy attack on the queen. And can the queen actually take this pawn? No, because my knight can be captured. Okay, now he needs to move his queen again. And we can continue with our development. So right now um our board looks really much better than his. Right, he has a bishop in a strange spot, not knight in a not very nice spot either, and then his queen has already moved 3 times. So actually attacking our bishop here, so we can just very easy can just drop back like something like this. Okay. This so you can actually take a pawn here, but this is actually a not a very good move from him because let's see, yeah. I'm just move my rook and this is actually defended. Okay. So actually, he actually had two attack ideas here. First is obviously to take my rook. Secondly would be to take my pawn on f7, which would actually lead to a horrendous checkmate, right? And that'll be quite embarrassing for me. So my defense is rook to f8, and after his queen takes on h7. This is actually a blunder. I just gave me a queen for free. And then I expect him to resign. Yep. Okay, so I think that was a rather short game. Maybe I think we can go for one more game and then I'll end the video here. Okay. Okay. Right. So now we are the white again. Once again, just very simple e4, e5, and knight f3. Just continuing with the theme of the game so far. So once again, I think he's bringing out the queen, going for the f7 attack again. No worry, doesn't really matter to us. He can't really attack it, so see, he has actually tried to go for the attack again, but this case, due to our good development with our knight to in a secure spot, he can't really attack it. So let's continue castling, getting our king to safety very quickly. Okay. So here he's actually giving out a free pawn. In this case, I prefer to take with this pawn here. You can actually open up the e file potentially in the near future, and I wouldn't really want to get my pawn queen in danger. Right? Okay, so he actually attacks the knight on f3. He's actually attacking it twice, and yes, even though we have the same number of defenders on the knight, which is these two square, these two. Once his bishop takes, my queen can take, and I can take again. This is actually not very nice position for me if my pawn takes like this, because my king is actually quite exposed, which is not something I'm very comfortable with. So very simple, I will just draw back my bishop, right? And then now, once the bishop takes, my bishop can take and it's defended. That'll be all very nice, right? Okay, he actually drops the bishop back to d6. Not very sure why he did that. Never mind, I will continue with my own development. I bring up my other knight. Okay, he moves his queen to h6. I can already see that his attack pattern is going to be for the he's going to try for a discovered attack and then taking the f2 square for checkmate. But don't worry, I also have a trick up my sleeve. So I've taught everyone here the discovered attack. So the discovered attack, where is the discovered attack? Maybe you pause the video, you can take a few seconds to find it. Maybe a few seconds. Okay, so if you actually said the move was to move to d4, you are absolutely correct. Very good. I'm proud of you. Because this actually attacks the queen and attacks this pawn simultaneously. It opens up the diagonal for the bishop and Okay. And yeah, to attack the queen. So he's actually seen it. I'm a bit surprised actually, but no worries. He actually gives us a free pawn that we can just take here for free. And then we still have the threat of taking this pawn here. Right? And once again, this queen is under attack. Okay, he'll move to here. No worries, I can continue with my plan. This is just a free piece. Actually, if his bishop takes here, then I take here. So far so good. Just with once again with easy development, with just straight away after 10 moves, we are actually already ahead by 3 points or 3 pawns, right? Very, very simple kind of game. Okay. Now he moves the bishop here. What I'm actually gonna go for is I'm gonna go for a bit of an attack because I have developed all my pieces. My king is safe, and I have a very, very strong center. So this is actually when we capitalize and we go in for the kill and go in for the attack. So how do I go in for the attack? Mm, the way to do this, I'm just gonna bring in more my pieces into his territory very, very easily, and just go in for just overwhelming him with pieces. Okay. So firstly, I'm gonna bring my knight in to e4. So I'm gonna try to go for a fork here with the king and the queen, and maybe this knight is a bit of a hassle, but we'll figure it out. And this actually also attacks um the bishop here. Okay. Um, okay, so he takes my knight, and I will take back with my bishop. Once again, attacking my queen, and actually the queen cannot take this bishop because it's also defended by my knight. I just move to e4, right? Very, very nice. So it actually all like kind of holds together very, very nicely. And then I will move my queen up 1 square, preparing for to capture this bishop. Right. Okay, so this is actually another blunder by his part. How many defenders does he have on this pawn? Two, right? And how many pieces do I have that are attacking the pawn? One, two, and three. So that means this pawn. Oh, okay. I dropped my piece again. Never mind. No worries. Okay, I will actually go for a bit of a queen trade right now, because this actually could favor me also. So once again, students, don't worry. Things like this happen even to players like me who have been playing for about more than half my life. Maybe some longer than even some of you guys have been on this earth, right? Happens to the best of us. So don't worry. Do not panic. You can just keep on playing your game, and you will see the results. Okay. So now I will actually go for a very nice move of queen to g7. Okay, what does this do for me? Can his rook move? No. So I've actually trapped his rook in a position here, and now his only way to defend is or really he cannot defend his rook, right? Okay, so now I will set up a bit of a trap for him. Okay, actually I don't even need to do that. I can just go for a very simple checkmate in 2 moves. Oh, sorry, maybe not 2 moves. Actually, it'll be about four, but it doesn't really make a difference either way. It's still a very easy, simple back rank checkmate that I'm very sure any of you guys could have found. Okay, so if you want, you can pause the video for a while to try to look and find one. Okay? Maybe this could be a bit harder, but no worries. I believe that you can find it. Okay, so how this sequence goes is actually starts with knight to f6 check. Right, knight to f6 check, and his only move would either be to take with the queen or to move the king to the side. One, right? Again, one more time, is that my first instinct would be to take the rook, right? But no worries, try to look for a better move first. And in this case, I actually managed to find the better move, which is to take this, to give this check first, and then after the king moves over, I can take this free rook. Better. Take this free rook. And then if you notice, my knight check here had one more purpose, is to actually block off this d7 square. So now can the king move to this d7 square? No, right? And actually he's actually abandoned the game because after he moves his knight here, which is the only move actually that actually stops him from checkmate. I can take this. Once again, only move is either moving his king here, this would be checkmate, or his knight bishop moves back, and I can actually take with checkmate. All right, so very, very easy type of game, just going in for the kill. Very, very simple type of game. Okay. So once again, to reiterate my points, development very, very important in the early game. Getting your king to safety, getting control of the center, and then looking for the smaller advantages, and then waiting for your opponent to make um, textbook errors, and then just going in for the easy kill and finding the checkmate moves. Okay. All right. So that'll be all for this session for this video. All right, and stay tuned for the next one. Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.